Once upon a time, in the city of Rochester, there was a magical place called Midtown Plaza. It was the best place to shop. It was the best place to see Santa at Christmas time, where there was a giant train for the kids to ride. At the center of the mall was the Clock of Nations, where, at the beginning of each hour, giant pods would rotate to music, each pod containing a diorama of the different countries of the world. But then, Midtown was torn down, and the clock was moved to the airport. But Midtown still exists. In your mind! Dan Kennedy presents Live from Midtown!
Hitting the Mark with Markman. I'm Kevin Markman. Hi, Dan.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
I hear it's your birthday.
It is. I just turned 50 and I'm not feeling it. So comedy is everywhere. Comedy is online. Comedy is indoors. Comedy is outdoors. Comedy is right here with Live from New York, presented by Dan Kennedy. Comedy is here with Hitting the Mark with Markman. And comedy is everywhere. So we are going to appreciate the comedy happened. And comedy has happened and is getting awards. And I had the honor myself as well. I don't know if you know this, Dan, but in my credit history, I have written for many different places and provided services throughout the world and in Hollywood also. So I was so honored last week to go up, and they didn't show me on the TV, but I did get an award because I am one of the providers of services. Kudos, because I provided the fish for Schitt's Creek.
Oh,
and we won so many awards.
yeah.
So I provided all the fish, so they gave me a specific fish Emmy that I was very proud of, and I'm going to keep this on my mantle right next to my fish.
Ah.
But let's talk about the state of comedy right now. So there is local comedy, there's indoors, outdoors, there is national comedy, and there is international and online. So locally, there is a show that's happening indoors as a speakeasy. Shh, hush.
Oh.
You're not supposed to know because we can't announce where venues are if they're indoors. Because in New York State, comedy is illegal, and there are people who are trying to shut it down. But it seems like you can't shut comedy down because we negotiate with death, and also comedy is kind of like trying to shut down comedy is like trying to teach people abstinence.
Yeah.
So you can't teach people abstinence because people are still going to go out and try to do their thing. And so in order to do that, you need to protect yourself. And so like masks are like the condoms of comedy to be able to do that. And there's still going to be some people exposed, and you can't just pull out comedy out of the venues completely. You have to still put them in there. So we're doing it illegally, and there's speakeasies, and there are people trying to report us and say, we're not doing abstinence. But if you do it safely, if you wear masks, if you protect yourself, then there's a 99.9% chance that you won't get pregnant. Yeah. So we are doing a show next week in a secret location locally in Rochester, and those are happening throughout New York State, but they're happening mostly outdoors. They're happening in other states, indoors. And you were telling me there was someone that was very creative in their outdoor venue. Melissa
Villasenor.
From
Saturday Night Live.
From Saturday Night Live. Did an outdoor venue in a treehouse of her neighbor, apparently. And I guess the little girl's treehouse, she was very worried about it, you were saying?
Yeah, yeah. She stood with her while she did the comedy.
To make sure that she was known that it was her treehouse also.
Yeah, yeah.
So it must have been a very clean set with the child also up in the tree. So, and I bet it was a little bit, the squirrels probably loved it because it's kind of nuts. But comedy is nuts now. So, in continuing to have comedy is nuts today, there are many other places. There are local shows and online shows. And right here is where I'm going to do my coming up online show for Almost Last Mondays, online comedy open mic, straight here from Rochester, New York. But internationally, we had our last one last month. Once a month we're doing it. And we had England and South Dakota represented. And so this month we'll see who comes up. That's next Monday, September 28th. 8 to 9. And there are weekly comedy online open mics at the Anarchy Open Mic. If you look that up, that's through Hawaii. And they are getting comedians from all over every week to be able to do shows.
Now, the last Mondays, I definitely want to see that. So how do I do that if I'm interested in being just a observer?
If you're an observer, then we like to call observers audience members. So
Okay.
be an audience, even though you're a performer and you're very talented. We'll have performers as well as audience that have lots of talent. So you can find it on Facebook or on Instagram under Kev Markman on Instagram or under Kevin Markman. I'm the third Kevin Markman, but I'm Kevin Markman. If you just Google Almost Last Mondays, it's going to come up. And there's a Zoom link because Zoom comedy is the way to go nowadays. There's also Instagram comedy. There's also Facebook Live comedy. But Zoom seems to be the format that people are preferring to be able to do it too. So there's lots of online, and there is places for displaced comedians like us to be able to perform and find out what else there is. And those are groups like Displaced Comedians, which is a group on Facebook that you can ask to join. And that's where a lot of people are finding their own venues. And there is other online forums because comedians still need to write and need to talk to each other because writing is the foundation of comedy. So find your people and continue to do that. There are a few other places where there are comedy because while it's still nice out and in the places where it is nice, there is comedy on boats. You can go on a little cruise. There aren't cruises out in the ocean, but there are little canal cruises like in the Erie Canal where Jesse Winterhalter and Andy Kuhn have done comedy as they're floating down on the cruise. It's outdoors, it's social, it's safe, it's funny, and nobody drowned.
Well, except for the sharks.
Yeah, the sharks are dangerous in the areas where next to the ocean, California, the East Coast, the hurricanes are coming up. But those are comedy fans that are just like, we need more comedy.
Yeah.
So there are boats, and the other place that you can find lots of comedy is podcasts. There are wonderful podcasts. There are local podcasts. Todd Gerstlin does Hate This Podcast, which is an edgy comedy talking about all life's issues in comedy. But professional comedians are stuck too, so they are talking about comedy. Mike Birbiglia, who is a wonderful comedian, started his own podcast when this shut down called Working This Out. And what he does is he invites another comedy person. They each present part of the bits that they're working out that you can see before anybody else. And they talk about and work out their writing too. There's a podcast called Good One. It's a great podcast, invites writers, directors, and comedians on, and they talk about one joke and break it down to writing. So spend your time writing and being able to produce more stuff. There are festivals that are online too. Rochester Fringe Fest is online. Jim Harney does a cute pun-filled morning show on there. Check that out. And those are open to and either free or low cost to be able to do that. And there are one of my favorites because I do usually do an annual stand-up for drag show and comedy show each year. But not doing that this year because of the shutdown. But there's still drag shows. Some of them are live because the drag queens and kings can be up on stage and everybody socially distanced. Otherwise, they're online. So check out online the drag shows too. Those are great. The other place for your comedy that you're going to find, because we know you're there already, is online on Netflix, on Hulu, and checking out the shows because they are producing and distributing more comedy shows than they ever have because that's the place where there are. You can't go to the movie theater and go see movies. Go see comedy online. We are on the mark with comedy. Comedy is not dead. Comedy is going to continue, and we are on the forefront with opportunities like this, checking out YouTube, Dan Kennedy, and we are live from Midtown with Dan Kennedy. This is Hitting the Mark, Kevin Markman. There's your comedy wrap-up. If I didn't hit the mark, give me feedback, share, tell me what I'm missing, and post so everybody can find their laughter, their love, and their heart. Thank you. I'm Kevin Markman. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
For expanded content, please go to Hitting the Mark with Markman on the YouTube. Number 8, service fees. If you look at a bill, there's either two ways you do things. You either, A, the bill comes in the mail, you write a check, you send it out, or you have the bank pay it out or whatever, or you review everything before you do anything. If you have any questions, you say, hey, what about this? Now, service fees, you might think, well, the service fees, they're just the cost of doing business, and you should just pay the service fees. So, tell me this. If service fees are just, hey, we just need that to get you to pay that expense for us, then answer one question. How come they make up names for the service fees? They make up a name, this is for paperwork. What paperwork? Okay, I know what paperwork is, but really, you use the copier. It's 5 cents, right? You're gonna, whatever. But then, this is maintenance fees. Maintenance fees, what exactly are you maintaining? What exactly do you have to do that I have to pay this service fee for? And so, if you have to make up the name of what those service fees are, we'll call this paper sorting fee. Paper sorting fee. What? I know what paper sorting is, but why is there a fee for that? You sort papers. Oh, here's this, and here's this, $10. Ridiculous.
A short novel written by Dan Kennedy. Chapter 20. When Alicia came back, she was driving the mothership that rescued everyone. When she stepped off the ship and Jim went to greet her, they melted into each other's arms. Grandma Barrington was the first to join them on the spaceship amidst cheers. On the new planet, she was to have a holiday named after her, since it was through her book at the library, which was the connection between past and present. Alicia and Jim married on the ship on the way to the new planet. The end.
Hi, who's it's, what's it's? I know what you're saying. The end? I was just as shocked as you are when I typed in the end. I knew it was the end, but we've been doing this book for 20 weeks. 20 chapters, 20 weeks. And it says a short novel. It is a short novel, but as far as 20 weeks, that's a long time. So what I'm going to do, next week you will get another episode of Dan Kennedy Presents Live from Midtown. But what I'm doing next week is I am going to give you a chance to read the novel pretty much maybe from start to finish. What I'm going to do is, along with the new episode next week, I'm going to release another episode, which is Dan Kennedy Presents Live from Midtown, Chapter 1. And I will release all 20 chapters. I will, what's the right word? I'll stagger them. It's not going to be one a week. It'll be the first chapter and then maybe the day after the second chapter. I'll see how it goes, but I will stagger them. Maybe we'll finish the whole thing in a week, depending on how I do it. But just know I'll start chapter 1 next week, along with a new episode, and I'll stagger them. So you got to keep watch.
Watch out!
Oh, I just got out of my car. Okay, I'm here. We're stop and go traffic. We're doing a show. You can do them everywhere. You can do them in traffic on the highway. And here, we're joking and we're laughing. And if I can get over the honking horns and the beeps, then if I can have a voice in here too, the Dodge 2018 Sentra is getting more laughs than I am. But we're out here and we're doing it. So come on out and see some comedy in the traffic, because we're still rolling. Rolling. That was fun.